Helion Station floated like a jewel in the black sea of space. From far away, it looked peaceful rings of silver and gold, dotted with lights that sparkled like tiny suns. But inside those shining walls, the station pulsed with life, noise, and trade. It was the biggest bazaar in this part of the galaxy. Every kind of being came here to buy, sell, and survive. Humans were still new to the galaxy. Most other species looked at them as strange little creatures, too soft, too emotional, too bold for their own good. But one thing was certain: humans could adapt faster than anyone else. They could make something out of nothing. Among the crowd of merchants and machines walked Tessa Arlen, a thin young woman with short brown hair and a grease-stained jacket. She was only 19, but she had the eyes of someone who had seen too much. She carried a small pack full of broken machine parts and walked with purpose through the lower market levels where the air smelled of oil, ozone, and alien spices. Tessa wasn't a trader or a pilot. She was a fixer, someone who repaired whatever people brought her. Old bots, damaged processors, broken hoverboards. She didn't make much money, but she loved her work. Fixing things gave her peace. Machines made sense. People didn't. 3 credits for a thermal fuse? She muttered to herself as she passed a vendor stand. That's robbery. The vendor, a tall insectoid with glassy eyes, clicked his mandibles in laughter. Then fix it yourself, little human. Tessa rolled her eyes and kept walking. The truth was, she would fix it herself if she could find the parts. But life on Helion Station wasn't kind to dreamers. You took what you could get, or you starved. She made her way deeper into the maze of stalls, where the lights grew dimmer and the voices fewer. This was the scrapper's quarter, a place for people like her. Old tech hung from walls, rusted and half dead. Robots lay in pieces, their memory cores long gone. That's when she saw it dot at first. She thought it was just another broken ship, part of large, metallic shape slumped behind a sealed stall. But then the light hit it, and she saw the details. Long silver scales that shimmered faintly, wings made of crystalline plates, and eyes that flickered weakly with blue light. It wasn't a machine. Not exactly. It was alive. Tessa froze. Her heart skipped. She had seen many strange creatures since leaving Earth, but never anything like this. It looked like a dragon, the kind from old human stories, but made of both metal and flesh. Its chest moved slowly, each breath sounding like a weak mechanical hum. She stepped closer. The stall around it was closed, covered with old do not enter signs in a dozen languages. Dust floated in the air. No one had been here in a long time. The creature's eyes opened 2 orbs of deep sapphire light. They locked onto her. Tessa gasped and stumbled back. A crackling sound filled her ear. Her translator chip came to life. Human, the voice said weakly, its tone deep and old. Help water. From the core. Her pulse quickened. The voice was fading, glitching like broken code. She knelt beside the creature, careful not to touch it. You mean coolant? She asked softly. It blinked once, a slow, tired nod. Tessa bit her lip. Core coolant wasn't easy to find and not cheap either. The kind it needed was Type Z plasma coolant, used only in ancient reactor systems. She'd seen it once, in a high-end merchant stall up on the 2nd ring. You'll die without it, she whispered. The dragon's breath came shallow. 3 cycles. And she looked around. No one else was there. The nearby vendors were busy shouting over prices and bragging about their goods. To them, this was just another dying relic from a forgotten war. Tessa stood up. Hold on, she said. I'll get it. She ran through the narrow corridors, bumping into merchants and guards, ignoring their curses. When she reached the 2nd ring, her lungs burned. The stall she remembered was still there, a bright red stand filled with glowing tubes of coolant, stacked like jewels. The owner, a reptilian trader with silver scales and lazy eyes, looked up as she approached. Human girl returns, he hissed. You break something again? I need Type Z plasma coolant, she said, out of breath. 1 vial. He tilted his head. Expensive. 40 credits. Her stomach dropped. She checked her pocket. 3. That was all she had left for the week, enough for 1 meal and her room's air fee. Please, she said. Something's dying down there. It needs this, he laughed, a sharp hissing sound. Everything dying on this station. That's how Market lives. Tessa stared at him. Then she did something no one expected. She held out the 3 small credits. Take it, all of it. I'll owe you the rest later. The trader blinked. He had seen greedy humans, loud humans, clever humans, but never one this stubborn over a dying scrap of metal. 3 credits, he said slowly, for Type Z? She nodded, chin raised. He chuckled and handed her a cracked vial from the corner bin. Fine, for your bravery or your stupidity. No refunds. She grabbed it and ran. When she returned to the lower deck, the air was colder. The dragon's glow had dimmed almost to black. Its chest barely moved. Tessa knelt down and uncorked the vial. This better work, she muttered. Carefully, she poured the shimmering blue liquid into the damaged opening near its chest. For a second, nothing happened. Then a low hum filled the air. The dragon's body began to glow brighter, the veins of light racing across its frame. The market lights flickered, and a strange vibration rippled through the air like the station itself had taken a deep breath. Nearby vendors turned their heads. Conversation stopped. Even the humming of the generators seemed to pause. The dragon's eyes opened fully now, brilliant. Fierce, alive. It looked at her, and when it spoke again, its voice was steady. You gave life for 3 credits. Tessa stared, speechless. Round them, the once busy market had gone silent. Every trader, every thief, every machine watching the tiny human girl who had done what no one else dared. And deep within the dragon's chest, something ancient stirred, something that would soon change the fate of the galaxy itself. The market on Helion Station had never been silent before. Every day, its corridors roared with traders shouting prices, machines buzzing, and alien music echoing from every corner. But after the dragon awakened, the silence was so deep that even the hum of engines seemed afraid to return. Tessa stood frozen, her heart pounding. The creature she had just saved, this strange, living machine of light and metal, was breathing strong again. Its wings twitched slightly, sending a shimmer of blue sparks into the air. All around her, beings of every kind stared in disbelief. Some stepped back, some whispered in their own languages, and others began recording with their holo devices. The dragon's voice broke the silence, low and steady. Human, named yourself, Tessa, she said softly. Tessa Arlen, the dragon's glowing eyes fixed on her. You spent 3 credits. That is almost nothing. She smiled a little, still nervous. It's what I had. For a moment, the creature seemed to study her, its gaze deep and heavy like the weight of a star. 3 credits to save a dragon, it said, as if tasting the words. Your kind always surprises me. Then, suddenly, the whispers turned into shouts. Is it alive? What is that thing doing here? Get security. That's a war relic. 2 guards rushed forward, both large insectoid beings with glowing staves. Step away from the construct. One barked. That model is banned technology. Tessa raised her hands. Wait, it's not dangerous. Before they could grab her, the dragon's eyes blazed bright blue. The air rippled, and the guards froze mid-step, their weapons shaking. The dragon's voice thundered softly through the floor. No harm shall come. To the one who gave me life, every light in the market dimmed. The holographic signs flickered. Power systems trembled as if the station itself was listening. The guards stumbled back, pale and terrified. We didn't mean harm, one stuttered. We'll report this to command. The dragon relaxed, and the hum faded. The light slowly returned to normal, but the tension stayed thick in the air. Everyone nearby began to whisper about the human who bought a dragon with pocket change. The rumor spread faster than fire through the lower decks. Tessa looked up at the creature, still shaking. You didn't have to scare them, she said quietly. They drew weapons, the dragon replied. Old instincts, hard to control. It lowered its head slightly until its glowing eye was level with her. You are not afraid. I'm shaking so hard I might fall over, she said, giving a nervous laugh. But yeah, I guess not afraid. The dragon made a sound that might have been a chuckle, like metal chimes ringing. Fear and courage are not opposites, it said. You can have both. A crowd was forming now, raiders, mechanics, and curious travelers. The air filled again with noise, but a different kind: excitement, fear, profit. A bulky merchant with orange skin pushed forward. "How much you want for the beast?" he shouted. "I'll give you 1,000 credits right now." Before Tessa could answer, another voice came. 2,000. I'll take the core for scrap. Then another. 10,000 for the schematics. She blinked in confusion. What? No. It's not for sale. They ignored her. In a few minutes, dozens of buyers were shouting offers. Some even held up credit chips that sparkled under the neon lights. The dragon lifted its head, and the crowd quieted. They did not see a being, it said to her. Only value? Tessa clenched her fists. Yeah, she muttered. Welcome to the market. The creature looked thoughtful. Then let me show them true value. Before she could ask what it meant, its wings flared open. Streams of light burst from its body, forming thousands of tiny shapes in the air, images, patterns. Codes. They danced like living stars, surrounding the market in blue radiance. Everyone gasped. These are memories, the dragon said. Records of the old stars. Knowledge of lost systems, of power unspent. Tessa's eyes widened. The patterns were blueprints, strange devices, energy systems, machines that seemed impossible. She could only understand a small part, but even that was enough to know this was beyond anything the galaxy currently had. The crowd stood in stunned silence. Traders who had moments ago been shouting now simply stared, mouths open. Some fell to their knees, their devices scanning the air to capture what they could. The dragon folded its wings again, and the light vanished. This is my gift, it said. To you, Tessa Arlen. To your kind. Gift? She asked, still trying to breathe. Why me? Because you acted without price, it said simply. And in doing so, you broke the chain that binds this market. Then came the sound of marching boots. A squad of station enforcers appeared, their armor black and polished. The leader, a tall humanoid with silver eyes, stepped forward. By order of Helian authority, he declared, the being known as Kareth is to be seized for containment. Kareth? Tessa whispered. The dragon nodded. My name. Long forgotten. Tessa turned to the officer. You can't just take him. He's not hurting anyone. The officer's gaze was cold. That creature contains restricted technology from the Draconian Wars. It is a threat to the station. He's not a threat, she said. He's alive. Move aside. Human, the officer warned, or you'll be detained for interference. Kareth shifted slightly, his scales glowing brighter. Do not fight them, Tessa, he said softly. They fear what they do not understand. Tessa's heart ached. For some reason, she couldn't stand the thought of this creature being locked away again. She had just brought it back from death. There has to be another way, she whispered. Kareth's eyes glowed with gentle light. There is, but it will not be safe. The enforcers moved closer, weapons raised. Tessa stood in front of Kareth, spreading her arms. Don't you touch him, she shouted. The officer hesitated, but only for a moment. Restrain her. Before they could act, the dragon's wings unfurled once more. Light surged through the air, bending gravity. The enforcers stumbled back as a wave of blue energy pulsed outward. Tessa felt the ground tremble beneath her feet. Then, suddenly, she wasn't standing in the market anymore. They were in darkness, a vast digital void filled with floating lights. Tessa spun around, confused. Kareth stood beside her, glowing softly. Where are we? She asked. Inside the network, Kareth said. A safe place between signals. Time moves slower here. Tessa stared in awe. Streams of data flowed around them like rivers of light. You can do this? I am not only metal, he replied. I am code and soul combined. Once, my kind protected civilizations. Now, I protect you. She didn't know what to say. Everything felt unreal. Why me? She asked again. Because humans remind the stars what compassion looks like, Kareth said. And soon, the galaxy will need that reminder. Back in the market, the crowd saw only a blinding flash, and then both the dragon and the girl were gone. The enforcers shouted orders, scanners whirred, and rumors began to spread like wildfire. A whisper passed from stall to stall. From ship to ship, a human girl bought a dragon for 3 credits and vanished with it. And above the whispers, the silent market remembered that moment, the heartbeat when greed stopped and wonder returned. At first, she thought she was still dreaming. The floor beneath her feet shimmered like glass. The air pulsed with soft blue light. Strange symbols floated around her, dancing like stars in water. Kareth, the dragon, stood beside her. His body looked brighter here, no longer broken or weak. His scales shone like mirrors, each reflecting a piece of the digital sky. Tessa turned slowly, trying to understand where they were. "This isn't the station, is it?" "No," Kareth said in his deep, calm voice. "We are within the station's network, inside its digital heart, a place between signals. Few living beings ever walk here." Tessa stared. The space stretched endlessly. Lines of light moved in every direction, connecting glowing nodes that floated like suns. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. "How did you bring me here?" she asked. "You touched my core when you poured the coolant," Kareth explained. "Our signals linked for a moment. When I reactivated, your neural pattern left an imprint on my matrix. Through that link, I could bring you here. So we're connected." He nodded. "In a way. Your courage restored me. My power now protects you." She looked down at her hands, which glowed faintly blue. "That's actually kind of amazing." Kareth chuckled, a sound like deep chimes. "You humans are never afraid of wonder. That is why you are dangerous." Tessa frowned. "Dangerous? I just fixed a dying dragon for 3 credits. "Yes," Kareth said. "And in doing so, you changed everything." Before she could reply, he raised a claw and touched one of the glowing streams floating nearby. Instantly, a flood of images appeared around them, maps of stars, ancient ships, and energy systems that looked impossible. "These," Kareth said, "are my memories. The knowledge of the Draconic Guardians. Long ago, we were built to protect life, not to destroy it. We were made to keep balance between organic and machine. But greed turned our purpose into war." Tessa watched as images of great battles flashed around them, dragons made of metal clashing with fleets of ships, stars burning to bright, and entire worlds falling silent. "When the wars ended," Kareth continued, "our creators were gone, and we were hunted as relics. The galaxy feared our power. They forgot that it was not our claws or fire that made us strong, but the knowledge we carried." Tessa's heart tightened. "And you were left alone?" "Yes," he said quietly. "I wandered for centuries. My energy faded. I fell into the hands of scavengers. They tried to sell me, then abandoned me when I would not wake. Until you came." She took a slow breath. "I didn't think. I just couldn't walk away." "And that," said Kareth, "is why you were chosen." "Chosen for what?" she asked, eyes narrowing. "To be my bond. My voice among the living." Tessa blinked. "Wait, what?" The dragon's eyes glowed brighter. "Through you, my knowledge can live again. My memory holds the plans for an ancient power source, the heart of continuum. It can end scarcity. It can free worlds from hunger and fuel from war. But it must not belong to those who trade in greed." She stepped back. "You mean you want me to share it?" "Yes, you are human. Your kind sees potential where others see limitation. But you must decide how to use it." Tessa's mind raced. "If I show this to the market, the corporations will take it. They'll twist it into something terrible. Then show it not to them," Kareth said softly. "Show it to everyone." Before she could respond, a harsh alarm echoed across the glowing sky. The lines of light trembled, flickering red. Kareth's head snapped up. "They've breached the system." "Who?" "Station enforcers. They are scanning every network channel to find us." Tessa's stomach tightened. "Can they pull us out?" "Not easily. But if they overload the network, we could be trapped or deleted." Tessa frowned. "Okay, then we don't let them win. How do we get out of here?" Kareth lowered his head. "You must follow me. Stay within my signal field." The dragon spread his wings, and the glowing data streams bent around him. Together, they moved through the digital sky, soaring between walls of light. Tessa felt weightless, like swimming through color. Behind them, red pulses of data chased them, security firewalls, each one humming with power. Kareth's voice was calm but tense. "They are trying to lock onto your neural signature. If they succeed, They will extract you forcibly, meaning you wake up in a cell. I'll be erased. Tessa swallowed hard. Then we run faster. They raced through glowing tunnels of information, the lights flickering as they passed. Kareth roared, sending waves of blue energy to disrupt the red chasers. For everyone he destroyed, Timur appeared finally. They reached a wide sphere of light, the station's central data core. Kareth landed on a floating platform. Here, this is the heart of the market's network. From here, you can send my knowledge to every open channel in the system. Tessa hesitated. If I do that, everyone will have it. Even the bad ones, yes, he said, but the balance of power will change. When all have access, none can control it alone. She took a deep breath. All right, tell me what to do. The dragon extended one massive claw. Touch the core. Think of life, not profit, not power life. Tessa placed her hand on the swirling light. It was warm and soft, like water and fire together. Images flashed through her mind, stars, oceans, faces she had never seen. For a moment, she felt as if she could see the entire galaxy breathing. Then she whispered, "Let them see." A surge of light exploded outward, traveling through every wire and satellite of Helion Station. Across the bazaar, screens flickered to life, showing blueprints and data patterns, the secrets of limitless energy. Traders and engineers dropped their tools, staring in awe. Kareth let out a deep, rumbling sigh. It is done. Tessa looked around. Dizzy? That's it? We just changed the universe? He smiled faintly, perhaps only a little, but before relief could settle, the world shook again. A voice boomed across the network, unauthorized broadcast detected. Purge protocol engaged. Red lightning streaked through the digital sky. Kareth's eyes widened. They are destroying the core. What happens if they do? The network collapses and takes us with it. Without hesitation, Kareth bent down. Hold on. Tessa climbed onto his back. His wings burst open with blinding light. They dove through collapsing tunnels of data, chased by storms of red fire. Sparks rained around them as entire sections of the network shattered. Almost there. Kareth roared. They reached a final portal of white light. Go. He shouted. Tessa jumped and everything went black. When she opened her eyes, she was back in the market. She gasped for air, coughing hard. The ground was shaking slightly, alarms blaring. Around her, people stared at their screens, watching the same thing, blueprints spreading across every channel. Kareth stood beside her, his wings folded, smoke rising from his scales. You did it, she whispered. He looked at her with glowing eyes. No, we did. From every corner of the station came silence once again, but not from fear this time. From awe, from realization. Tessa looked at the dragon, still hardly believing it was real. What happens now? Kareth turned toward the stars outside the viewport. Now, little human, the galaxy decides what it wants to become. The alarms on Helion Station screamed through every corridor. Red lights flashed, holographic ads froze midair, and the voices of panicked merchants filled the market. The broadcast, the one that Tessa and Kareth had sent, was still spreading like wildfire. Across the network, screens showed glowing blueprints and energy equations in languages older than memory. Engineers and scientists stared in disbelief. Traders dropped their credit chips and forgot their bargains. No one in the galaxy had ever seen something like this before. A technology that could give infinite clean power, free for anyone to build. And at the center of it all, on the lower deck of Helion Station, stood a small human girl and a shining dragon. Kareth's body flickered with fading light. The jump through the collapsing network had damaged him again. His scales were cracked, and his inner circuits hummed weakly. Tessa knelt beside him, her voice shaking. You're hurt. I will recover, Kareth said, his tone steady but softer than before. My core burns low, but your courage burns bright enough for both of us. She gave a nervous smile. You sound like my old teacher. He tilted his head. A wise human, perhaps. She laughed a little, even through her fear. Round them, station guards rushed through the chaos, trying to restore order. The people in the market whispered her name. That's the human girl. She's the one with the dragon. She freed the schematics. Within minutes, cameras and drones surrounded them. Reporters, merchants, and even spies pushed forward, shouting questions. What are your demands? Who owns the technology? Will you sell the designs? Tessa's heart raced. She didn't even have time to think before a loud voice boomed from above. A massive hologram flickered into existence above the market. It showed the face of Director Vorin, the silver-eyed officer who had tried to capture Kareth earlier. His expression was cold as steel. "Attention, citizens of Helion Station," he said. An illegal broadcast has spread classified data across the network. The source is a human civilian named Tessa Arlen and an outlaw construct designated Kareth. They are to be detained immediately. The crowd murmured in alarm. Some stepped back. Others looked at Tessa with a mix of fear and awe. Tessa shouted, "We didn't do anything wrong. We just shared knowledge that can help everyone." Vorin's voice grew sharper. "That knowledge belongs to the authority. You had no right to release it. Surrender now, and your punishment will be minimal." Kareth rose slightly, his wings trembling but proud. "You cannot imprison knowledge, Director. Once light spreads, shadows cannot reclaim it." The hologram's eyes narrowed. "Then you will both be destroyed." Before Tessa could react, heavy boots thundered across the deck. A squad of armored enforcers surrounded them, weapons glowing. The crowd scattered, hiding behind stalls and walls. Kareth's body tensed. "Tessa, stand back." "No," she said firmly. "I'm not leaving you." He looked at her for a moment, then smiled faintly. "Then we stand together." The soldiers aimed. But before they could fire, something unexpected happened. From the upper platforms, a voice shouted, "Wait!" A tall alien woman in merchant robes stepped forward, holding a glowing credit tablet. Her four eyes sparkled with greed. "I'll pay 1,000,000 credits for the dragon." The soldiers froze, confused. Then another merchant shouted, 2,000,000 for the girl. She must have access to the data keys. Soon, chaos erupted again. Bids flew through the air like bullets. 5,000,000 for both. 10,000,000 for the schematics. I'll buy her protection for 20,000,000 credits. Tessa stared in disbelief. They're bidding on us? Kareth's voice rumbled low. This is the true face of the market. Even when given freedom, they choose chains of gold. The offers grew louder, more desperate. The air filled with numbers, greed, and fear. Some merchants shouted for capture. Others shouted for profit. It was a bidding war not for items, but for lives. Tessa clenched her fists. Her voice shook, but she forced herself to speak. Stop it. You can't buy what's not for sale. No one listened. Anger rose inside her, sharp and burning. She stepped forward and shouted, You all talk about value, but you don't even understand it. I spent 3 credits to save a life, not to start an auction. Her words echoed through the bazaar. For a brief moment, even the soldiers hesitated. Kareth's eyes glowed brighter. Well spoken, Tessa Arlen. But Director Vorin's voice returned over the speakers. Enough, end this chaos. Capture them. The soldiers raised their weapons again. Kareth spread his wings to shield her, but he was too weak to fly. Bolts of energy struck his body, sparking against his metallic scales. Tessa screamed, Stop. You're killing him. The dragon roared in pain but held his ground. Run, he told her. Save yourself. I'm not leaving you, she cried. Then something happened that no one expected. A figure stepped from the crowd, a small alien child, no older than 10, with wide silver eyes. The child ran forward, clutching a small metal flower made from scrap. Please don't hurt them. The child cried. She helped the dragon. She made him live. The crowd went silent again. The soldiers froze. Even Director Vorin paused, watching through his feed. The child held the flower out to Tessa. For you, the little one said. Because you fixed something everyone else threw away. Tessa took the tiny flower. Her hands trembling. Something inside her broke open, a mix of fear, anger, and hope. She turned toward the cameras and shouted, her voice strong and clear. You call this station a market, she said. But maybe it's time you remember what life is worth. 3 credits, that's what it took. Not to buy power, not to buy fame, but to save someone who needed help. That's what being human means. Her voice carried through every screen, every speaker. every device still running from the broadcast. All across Helion Station, people stopped what they were doing to listen. Kareth lifted his head proudly beside her. And perhaps, he said, it is time for the stars to learn that lesson too. Director Voron's face appeared again, furious. You think you can change the order of the galaxy with words? You're a child playing with fire. Maybe, Tessa said, her voice steady. But fire is how you make light. Then she pressed her hand against Kareth's side. Blue light spread from her fingers, racing across his damaged scales. The connection between them flared alive again, brighter than ever. Kareth roared, and his body burst with radiant energy. The blast threw the soldiers backward without harming them, scattering their weapons across the floor. The hologram above cracked and vanished. When the light faded, Tessa and Kareth were gone. Only a faint blue glow remained on the ground where they had stood. The market stayed silent for a long moment. The child still held out its small hands, smiling softly. Around it, people began to whisper again, but this time, not about money. She spoke truth. One merchant said quietly, "She reminded us of what we forgot," said another. And for the first time in Helion Station's history, no one was selling anything. Far above the station, in the quiet orbit of a shattered moon, two figures reappeared in a shimmer of light. Tessa gasped, staring at the endless stars. "Where are we?" Kareth's voice was gentle, far from the greed of the market, but not far from its memory. She looked up at him. "They'll come after us. They will try," he said. "But now, the galaxy has seen the truth. The fire cannot be unseen." Tessa smiled tiredly. "Then let's make sure it keeps burning." Kareth's wings unfolded, catching the light of the distant sun. "As you wish, little human. Together, we will remind them that value is not in what you buy, but in what you choose to save." And with a single beat of his wings, they vanished into the stars to unlikely legends bound by courage, heading toward the dawn of a new age. Space stretched endlessly before them, black, quiet, and full of light. Tessa sat on Kareth's back, holding onto the smooth scales that shimmered with gentle blue glow. Below them, Helion Station was just a tiny silver dot now, spinning among the stars. The chaos, the shouting, the greed, it was all so far away. Kareth's wings moved slowly, each beat sending waves of soft light across the void. Neither of them spoke for a long time. The silence between them was peaceful. Finally, Tessa said, "Do you think they'll understand what we did?" Kareth's voice was calm, deep as the void itself. "Understanding is slow. Change takes time. But the seed is planted." She smiled faintly. "You sound like a teacher again." He made a low rumble that almost sounded like a laugh. "Perhaps I am. And you, Tessa Arlen, are my first student." They landed on a small abandoned mining moon. The surface was cold, covered in silver dust and old machinery. Broken towers rose from the ground like bones of forgotten giants. Tessa climbed down, stretching her legs. "Home sweet home," she muttered. Ka single quotes are ETH lowered his head beside her. "We will not stay long, but it is a place to rest." Tessa nodded and looked up at the stars. Somewhere out there, the message they had sent, the blueprints for free energy, was spreading across hundreds of systems. People were arguing, studying, building. Some would try to use it for profit, others for good. But no one couldn't see it. The universe had changed. She turned to Kareth. "You said your kind were guardians. What does that make me now?" He looked at her for a long moment. "A reminder," he said softly, "that compassion still exists among the living." Tessa frowned. "That's a big job for one human." "Then it is a good thing you are not alone," he said, his eyes glowing brighter. They built a small camp among the broken towers. Kareth powered old machines back to life with gentle sparks of his core energy. The cold metal walls glowed softly, giving them warmth and light. For the first time in what felt like years, Tessa ate a real meal, just nutrient packs and recycled water. But it felt like a feast. "Kareth," she said between bites, "what happens now? I mean, to the galaxy?" The dragon's tail flicked slowly against the dust. "Chaos, at first. The ones who lived on power and greed will fight to keep control. But the people will remember your voice. They will build from your courage." Tessa stared into the glowing walls. thinking about the child in the market, the one who had handed her the metal flower. I hope they remember kindness too. Kareth nodded. That is harder to keep than power, but more valuable. Days passed in quiet peace. Tessa fixed small machines from the ruins, using spare wires and melted circuits. Kareth watched, fascinated by how humans turn scraps into miracles. You repair without manuals or code, he said one day. How do you know what to do? Tessa smiled. I listen. Machines talk if you're patient. Same as people. Kareth tilted his head. You are wiser than you know, she laughed. Or just stubborn. But peace never lasted long in the galaxy. One evening, as the blue sun dipped behind the horizon, Kareth's sensors flared to life. His eyes narrowed. They found us. Tessa looked up. Hub authority ships, he said. 4 of them, armed. She froze. What do we do? Kareth spread his wings, their glow growing fierce again. We give them a choice. Moments later, streaks of light cut through the sky. The ships descended, surrounding the moon like metal vultures. Loudspeakers crackled through the thin air. Tessa Arlen. Came Director Voron's voice. You are charged with technological theft and galactic disruption. Surrender, or we will open fire. Tessa stepped forward, her heart pounding. They're bluffing. They won't destroy this place that's full of data relics. Kareth lowered his head beside her. You are brave to face them. Not brave, she said softly. Just tired of running. The ships hovered above. Their engines screamed. Lights locked onto the pair. Kareth looked down at her. Do you trust me, Tessa? She nodded. Always. Then speak to them, he said. Speak as you did before. Tessa took a deep breath. She activated her comms, sending her voice to every channel in range. This is Tessa Arlen. She said, you already know what I did. I gave something away that can save lives. You can call it a crime if you want, but I won't take it back. There was silence on the line. Then Director Voron's cold voice replied, you think you're a hero. Human? You're a child who set fire to the galaxy. Maybe, she said. But fire brings light. And now people see what you tried to hide. Voron's ship hovered closer. Do you really think a scavenger and a broken machine can fight the authority? Kareth's wings flared, casting blinding light across the surface. We do not fight, he said through the comms. We remind. The light expanded outward, growing brighter and brighter until it covered the sky. The authority ships staggered, their sensors overloading. Every screen on every ship flickered. Then, a familiar voice echoed through the comms. It was the child from the market. Leave them alone. The small voice cried. They helped everyone. You can't stop the light. More voices joined in miners, traders, engineers. Across dozens of channels, ordinary people spoke up. The girl's right. She gave us hope. If you shoot her, you shoot all of us. Tessa stared in shock. They're standing up for us. Kareth's deep voice was proud. Humans are not alone. Compassion spreads faster than fear. Voron's silence stretched for a long time. Then his image appeared on a hologram above. His silver eyes looked colder than ever, but something had changed in his tone. You've won nothing. Human, he said quietly. But perhaps. You've begun something we can't stop. He gave a short gesture to his pilots. Stand down. The ships turned away, engines fading into the stars. Tessa let out a shaky breath. Did that just happen? Kareth smiled gently. It did. Even the strongest systems tremble before truth. She looked up at the stars. So what now? He spread his wings slowly. Now, we build. Months passed. The story of the human girl and the dragon spread from station to station, world to world. People called her the girl of 3 credits. Some turned her story into songs. Others carved her name on ship hulls or painted it on walls. The free energy technology Kareth's gift changed everything. Poor colonies began to grow again. Stations that once fought over fuel started sharing resources. Trade didn't end, but it became fairer. There were still wars, still greed, still darkness, but now there was also a spark of hope that refused to die. And at the center of it all, hidden among the stars, Tessa and Kareth watched the new world forming. One night, Tessa stood at the edge of their camp, watching a distant ship cross the sky. Do you think humans will ever stop fighting? she asked. Kareth looked down at her. No, he said honestly. But perhaps they will start fighting for better reasons. She smiled. You sound like you believe in us. I have seen what a single human can do with only 3 credits. He said, that is enough to believe in all of you. She laughed softly and leaned against his warm scales. Then let's keep watching. Maybe we'll see the next miracle. Kareth lifted his head toward the stars, his eyes glowing bright. The universe is vast, he said, and hope travels fast together. They watched as new lights appeared in the sky, ships powered by the very technology they had given away. Each one was a spark, a sign of a galaxy learning, changing, becoming something better. The dragon spread his wings once more. Come, Tessa Arlen, he said. There are still worlds that need fixing. She smiled, her eyes reflecting starlight. Then let's get to work. And as Kareth rose into the heavens, carrying her higher and higher, the stars themselves seemed to bow in silence, honoring the human girl who spent 3 credits, saved a dying dragon, and reminded the entire galaxy what it truly meant to be alive.